So this, a big tournament for Richard. He is actually the team manager for BCW. You see him with the guys a lot. Occasionally he signs up for the tournament himself. At 5-1, this would be one of his best. This is one of his best events to date.
Yeah, he's usually playing in the Sunday Classic, so good to see him doing well so far. Rocking the Colts hat there.
Yeah, against Zan Syed. I like that he's going to bat. This is the other guy's team, you know. Faithless looting, turn 1 here for Richard.
This is step 1 in the turn 2 kill. We'll see if Richard has it.
All right, so walk me through it. What's the perfect scenario?
All right, step 1, discard Gristlebrand.
Okay, got it.
Step 2, play your second land.
Okay.
Cast Goryo's Vengeance.
I didn't discard Gristlebrand.
All right, so you don't want to cast Goryo's Vengeance now.
All right, go over to Zan. Turn 1 is going to be Aether Vial. He passes back. Yeah, Counter Souls is, of course, on humans.
It looks like Richard discarded a Night's Whisper and is looking to cast another one.
Okay. I was going to say, normally I don't see players discard that one on the first turn unless there's a very good reason.
It looks like he's pretty flush with them.
Yeah, he has 4 copies.
Yeah, for a deck that wants to go this fast, you just need your cantrips, or your draw spells, rather, to be efficient.
So cast Night's Whisper, will go to 17. Had the option of Cathartic Reunion as well.
Typically, you want to use that as a discard outlet, not just a draw spell. If you could whisper into a creature you wanted to put in the graveyard, say Gristlebrand, or maybe one of these Borborygmos Enraged, you would like to do that. Get that in the bin. There's a lot of pressure, though. Once we start getting to this stage in the game, if Zan can get the Ether Vial up to 3 and start representing Reflector Mage, he can start disrupting the combo turn. Richard generally needs to draw a good amount of cards with the Gristlebrand on the combo turn. If he's not able to connect in the combat step, that can set him back too far.
Thalia the play here, turn 2 for Zan. That could be inconvenient here for Richard. If he's trying to build up to a card like Through the Breach, plays Temple of Malice, so enters the battlefield tapped, meaning he won't be able to Goryo this turn. Won't even be able to Night's Whisper.
Yeah, looks like he's holding a Faithless Looting, though. Can still do that one.
That works. And that's what he'll do. Draws into another land. Might have hit something good there at the bottom.
There it
land
is.
There, yeah, I was going to say, there's the Gristlebrand. Okay, he passes. Zan was going to vial in a Noble Hierarch. Puts the vial up to 2. So now if Zan needs to find Meddling Mage, I think, for Goryo's Vengeance. But it looks like he does have Meddling Mage already in his hand. So that'll set up fine.
Yep, that's useful. It is worth noting that Thalia does somewhat disrupt the combo turn. Once you start drawing with Gristlebrand, frequently you have to use Nourishing Shoal to gain some life, and that's going to cost a mana with Thalia in play.
Yeah, Richard hit down to, looks like 14. The Thalia exalting to a 3 power. Meddling Mage cast by Zan. Believe he's just named Goryo's Vengeance. We'll confirm. Yeah, that was the name.
Makes sense.
So these creatures, these X1s, X2s that are screwing up Richard's combo, does he have a way to get them off the board?
1 main deck Collective Brutality, 1 main deck Lightning Axe.
Ooh, okay.
It's not pretty.
Land 4 for Richard. He's kind of hoping the game didn't go this late.
Yes. Yeah. Like I said, if the Goryo's Vengeance deck did its thing every game, it would already be banned.
Ryan, I got something here, and I'm pretty excited about it. So that Aether Vial, it's on 2.
Yeah.
There's a Phantasmal Image in Zan's hand.
Yeah.
So let's say somehow Richard starts comboing. Okay.
Yeah.
There's some really nice cards to Phantasmal Image.
Maybe a Gristlebrand.
Or a World Spine Worm or something.
Yeah, that's not bad.
I could see that ending poorly.
We'll see if we even get to that phase, though.
Knight's Whisper, Richard down to 12.
Ugh.
I don't think he's going to get to that spot.
No.
Damage is adding up faster. Now, I'm interested if in Zan's spot he goes ahead and vials in another mage, or whether he just keeps, or with the image, or whether he just keeps the image as a insurance on something dumb happening.
I don't hate vialing in the mage and naming through the breach. I think that that's a pretty good line.
And he's going to use Aether Vial. Here is Phantasmal Image on the Meddling Mage. There's a bunch of cards he could name. Through the Breach makes sense. Even Lightning Axe would make sense too, or Collective Brutality. And he does name Through the Breach.
Yeah.
So now he's covered both ways that Richard can get a monster into play. One mage on each. He moves the Vial up to 3 because he has a Reflector Mage in hand. Draws another Reflector Mage.
Sure. More importantly, already has a 2-turn clock set up.
Yep, here's 6. Richard down to 6. He'll get one more turn.
Yes, an Aether Vial, sure. And just 2 Reflector Mages now, but he already has Lethal assembled. Richard shouldn't be able to do anything to get out of this one. Yeah, potentially, if he drew both of his removal spells, he gets to buy another turn. I don't believe that that's what has happened.
No.
Things will get a little bit better for Richard when we go to the sideboard games, though. Quite a bit more interaction hanging out there.
And yeah, he'll pick up the cards. No way out here. So Zan Syed on humans is going to get game 1. Able to keep Richard more and more off balance until he really didn't have a way to win. So that'll be 1-0. Richard might want some removal. We'll see if he can reach for that. We'll be back in just a second with game number 2.
Go. Go.
So we're back here as players sideboard for game number 2. Zan Syed and Richard Kivett in the 5-1 bracket. Both these players with 3 rounds to play. They need 2 wins to make it into day 2 of competition. So on Richard's side, he was the loser here in game 1, unable to deal with some Meddling Mages and Thalia. He's going to look for removal. And he's got one card designed to just do that. He's got 3 Blood Moons, 3 Bantu's Last Reckoning, 3 Chalice of the Void, 2 Pact of Negation, 2 Shattering Spree, a Collective Brutality, and an Engineered Explosives. But the big one I'm wanting here is Bantu's Last Reckoning.
Yep, having that sweeper clean up those troublesome humans. That'll do some work. Don't hate Engineered Explosives either. Kind of a funny interaction between that card and Thalia is when you set X on 1, you get to Sunburst it for 2 through a Thalia.
Okay.
So it's pretty efficient at cleaning up the human stack.
Yeah, it's kind of unaffected by Thalia.
Yeah.
Right, now on Zan's side, he has a lot less, but he has a good one. Is it 3 as a Staticaster, 2 Sin Collector, 2 Dismember, 2 Gaddock Teague, maybe he doesn't have less, 2 Grafdigger's Cage, 2 Hostage Taker, a Zathrid Necromancer, and a Direfleet Daredevil. Go ahead.
Yeah, there's some nice ones here. So Sin Collector, look at the hand, that's pretty good. Gaddock Teague turns off those Through the Breaches. That one's reasonable. Probably not Hostage Taker. You don't really want to set your Vial on 4, but Grafdigger's Cage, turning off Goryo's Vengeance. That
pretty
one,
into that.
That one plays.
So we'll have each of those. Now, there is something going on, I guess, with the Teagues and the Cages where each of them answers one of the 2 combos, but not the other. Is that a concern?
I mean, it's a concern, but the deck, you have so many small interactions. You assemble these things, you know. Meddling Mage is generally going to cover one half or the other, so you kind of either draw one or both of these and then everything's covered, or you draw one of these and Meddling Mage, so you can kind of double up and cover both sides that way. I think post-sideboard, the most important thing is just making sure you don't get swept up by some kind of hate card. So I think he has a good number of things to cover the combo if he's given enough time to do it. Question mark is whether or not he gets swept up by a Bantu's Last Reckoning.
Yeah. So at StarCityGames.com, we have the Star City Games weekly sale. That's a different item discounted each week over from our store. So Modern has been the format really of the month, and it's the format of this weekend. Next week it's going to be a brand new format. So right now we have a weekly sale on select Modern singles. You want to head over to our store, starcitygames.com/weekly sale, to check out all the things that we have on discount right now. Make sure you get to do that this weekend, though, as we switch over to next week's sale on Monday morning. Get your Monvuli Acid Mosses. I actually register that card sometimes.
That's what's so funny about it. I seem to remember a tournament where you or somebody in your group was desperately looking for one. It's the kind of card that's old enough now where you have to spend like $6 for a common if you need to find it later.
I think it's cheaper than that, but if you're like go to the tournament and just hope to pick one up from the dealers, you probably don't do that. They aren't stocked in it.
It's also the foil is actually pretty expensive because it's from Time Spiral.
Sure, there weren't many foils from Time Spiral, or just it's old.
It's old. There were a lot of cards in the Time Spiral set.
A huge number, yeah.
So that made foils a little bit harder to get. It was like over 400 because of time-shifted cards.
Yeah. You think about the number of cards in Standard then compared to now, it's pretty wild.
Also, foil Monvuli Acid Moss was a card nobody was excited to open at the time.
I say threw them away.
Yeah, exactly. They're in bulk boxes, garages, landfills. That's how I felt about Ancient Stirrings when it came out.
What's this? This thing sucks.
Put it in some draft decks.
Yeah.
That was about it.
Richard going to take a mulligan here. Zan keeping.
Here's the cool thing about Modern is a lot of cards got discovered later. Biggest story there, I guess, is Lantern Control.
I think my strat with collecting has been when I have to go through, okay, my sets are rotating out. I got to throw away most of the cards because I don't want to just keep boxes of I don't keep every card. That's ridiculous. Or I don't have the space for it. If it costs 0 or 1, keep it. Unless you're 100%. If it's a vanilla 1/1 for 1, you can toss that.
Sure.
If it costs 0 or 1 and has any upside, keep it. And if it's 2 mana and is reasonable, like pretty reasonable, to keep your 0s, 1s, and 2s, get rid of everything else, and then keep your rares. And that's done me mostly fine.
Yeah, that strat makes sense. I assume that your collection is dramatically more organized than mine if you have this system in place.
Well, it is because I just get rid of everything immediately, so it's just, it either go, like, the actual box of cards I'm keeping is sorted by color and nothing else.
So when I get cards, as soon as I get them, they end up in a pile on my desk.
Okay.
And then I get enough piles, and then I throw them in a box.
No, see, I take the pile, and I pull 2 cards out, throw them in the box, and then the rest of them go away immediately. Okay? And then grade.
Slightly different systems.
Yeah. No way to tell which one's working better.
They're both good, right?
Grafdigger's Cage, turn 1 here from Zan. Richard has kept on 6. So no Goryo, but Richard does have a Through the Breach in his hand, so maybe he wasn't planning to Goryo anyway. Plays Temple. Zan, however, has a Cage and 2 Meddling Mages in his hand. His deck, this is a jerk of a deck.
Forget about it. Gonna need to answer those Meddling Mages. Yeah, first you need to get the requisite mana and a creature to Through the Breach in. And then you need to get through these Meddling Mages.
I don't like this matchup for Richard. There's just so much stuff in the way. He'll cast Faithless Looting.
Maybe discard this Goryo's Vengeance that he's brought to the front of his hand?
Yeah, I don't think I want that right now. He drew 2 lands. Discards a Temple and a Goryo's Vengeance. Thalia from Zan.
Yeah, I suppose that Through the Breach costs a lot of mana anyway. Not really in a rush to Meddling Mage it.
Land 3 here from Richard. So, yeah, now Through the Breach up to 6 mana. Yeah, Richard really needs something, some removal. He'll pass. Kite Sail Freebooter, the draw from Zan. And this, you know, Humans is really hard to play against for these kind of combo decks. Champion of the Parish from Zan. I think he's going to make Freebooter now.
Yes. Makes it really easy to Meddling Mage.
Yeah, when you know your opponent's hand, I'm in.
Yeah, you can already pretty confidently lock in Through the Breach, but this lets you see if there's any kind of removal spell.
So we have Through the Breach, Collective Brutality.
A couple Gristlebrand's. I don't think we're going to see Meddling Mage on Gristlebrand.
No, he'll take the Collective Brutality. Meddling Mage on Through the Breach is nice, but now it really feels like it's on Richard to just draw Bantu's Last Reckoning. And I guess a 4th land.
Yeah, so Richard had Brutality and mana to pay for the Thalia last turn. I like that he waited. He was hoping to get a Meddling Mage with it. Instead, it got freebooted.
Draws and passes. Maybe it's the Bantus, but he needs a land. Noble Hierarch from Zan, another counter on Champion. And he's just going to start swinging. Maybe even Meddling Mage. And just, if Bantus happens, it happens, but best way to do that is to put a quick clock down. So here's Meddling Mage. Champion's up to a 4/4. And he named Bantu's Last Reckoning. Okay.
All right.
He knows what he's doing, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if Richard has any more play. What a...
Now with the hand we've
Zan
seen.
did his homework. And now he's going to get the game here. Richard taking a hit, if I believe 7 on that turn, going to 11. He just passes.
Now on board, there's 9 more. 2 more Humans is lethal. Or there's a Mantis Rider in hand as well. That ought to do it.
Yeah, if that is Mantis Rider he drew, that's going to do it. And Zan said, I'm not swinging yet, I'm just counting.
Yeah.
I'll let you know.
Lining things up.
Okay. And Mantis Rider, that's going to play. Here's a swing of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 13. Mantis Rider, yeah, that's Vigilance.
For what it's worth. Yeah, that's going to do it. Zan Syed 2-0 over Richard Kivett on Goryo's Vengeance. Humans still very much a player in Modern. This was the deck that put 2 players in the top 8 of the Pro Tour. You know, we'll find out exactly how well Humans does when we start going into post-unbanning format, but for now, still very much a contender.
All right, well, Zan Syed, a convincing 2-0.